Hello, boys and girls. This is your ELA packet for week 4, and I am going to read the passage with you, boys and girls, and then I will be pointing out a few of the questions and especially the tasks that they added for your reading log at the end of the packet, okay? I want to remind you that every time that we read a text, before we even start reading, we try to make a guess, an inference as to what this must be or may be about, okay? And we do that by looking at the title of the reading. And the title of this article is Precedent. And then it says, just say no to bullying. And then if you notice, the other thing that we can look at is the image or the illustrations. And I noticed here that there's a picture of Barack Obama. He used to be the president of the United States, and his wife, Michelle Obama. And then, and so based on the title and the illustration, it says President, just say no to bullying. I can infer, or I can take a good guess, educated guess, that this is probably going to be about the president saying something. I notice they're in front of a microphone right here. So probably they're going to be talking about bullying and specifically saying no to bullying because that's what the title says, okay? So that gives me a good idea as to what this may be all about. So let's go ahead and begin reading. Okay, keeping in mind what this is all about. Who is this about? Remember when we read, even if it doesn't ask us, it's still good to think of the main idea because that helps us comprehend or understand. And to get the main idea, remember we think of these two main questions. Who is this about? And what? Okay. So who is this reading about and what about them? Okay, so here we go. It says, Washington, D.C. Bullying is a serious problem in the U.S. Some 13 million students across the country deal with it each year. Even President Barack Obama was once a target of schoolyard harassment. Obama spoke at a White House conference on bullying. He remembered being treated poorly. He said he faced bullying because of his unusual name and big ears. The president said that such behavior must not be accepted. Okay. The conference was held to send a message. The White House says that bullying is a serious problem. About 1/3 of all children in school are bullied every year. Bullying makes kids more likely to fall behind in their studies. They are also more likely to have trouble making friends. And then I can notice quotation marks right here. So that means somebody is speaking. Bullying can have harmful effects on our young people, President Obama said. It's not something we have to accept. During the conference, President Obama said that adults have too often ignored bullying. But the mean-spirited behavior can cause real damage, Obama said. Therefore, it is necessary that the nation take action. People must adjust the way they react to bullying. We must correct the false idea that bullying is just part of growing up, President Obama said. It's not. More than 100 parents, students, teachers, and others went to the conference. They first heard from experts. Then they broke into smaller groups. They thought about possible ways to stop bullying. One group talked about something called cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is bullying that is carried out using technology. People might send mean text messages. They might send mean emails. They might torment others using Facebook or Twitter. This type of bullying is becoming more and more common. It is now drawing serious attention. Some parents in this group thought about taking away their children's computers. They hoped this would help them avoid the problem. Other parents suggested that parents get a better understanding of what's happening in their children's lives. Technology is out there. We cannot shut it off, said one parent. Children are not going to allow it to be shut off. We have to make sure that we have parents who understand what's going on in their child's online world, as well as the real world. Michelle Obama was also at the conference. She agreed with this suggestion. The First Lady said that parents could help stop bullying. They could do this, she said, by being active in their children's lives. She said parents should be active in their children's schools. The First Lady, Michelle Obama, also encouraged adults to help stop bullying in another way. She urged parents to set a good example for children. She said that adults should treat others with care. They should treat people with respect. It sends a message to our kids, Mrs. Obama said. President Obama made sure to remind people that bullying isn't a problem for parents alone to solve. Mr. Obama urged everyone to help end bullying. He said they could do this by working to make children feel safe at school. He urged everyone to help children feel a sense that they belong. Obama remembers being bullied as a kid. He doesn't want this to happen to kids today. I have to say, with big ears in the name that I have, I know what bullying feels like. And then this is just a reference in the article. And then I think that at this point, everybody has already noticed that the article provides a dictionary, and it's just a list of academic words that may be difficult for some students. So actually, before reading, what you could do is you can, first of all, you can make your inference, your guess. What might this be all about based on clues such as the title, illustrations? Then you can also take a look at the list of vocabulary words. So here's the word, the part of speech, if it's a noun, a verb, and then the definition right here. Okay, and so that way, when you are reading, when you come across those difficult words, then it's easier for you to understand what the reading is saying, the content, okay? So that was the reading. And so at this point, I think that we can answer the questions, who is this about? And then what? Okay, and you can actually write on that margins on the side of your packet. You can take notes. Remember, you can annotate, such as underlining, circling, any of that, as you come across details, and also take notes on the side. Okay, and then you begin with your different tasks for each day. And for day one, you guys have been doing really good at this. You know that a circle map is to brainstorm ideas about something, and in this case, it's about different words. Okay, so if you noticed here, it gives you the directions, okay, for day one, and it was to choose 4 unknown words and to do a circle map for each one. And so you would put an academic word that you don't understand from the reading. For example, I remember the word torment, so I would put that word in here, torment. I would choose a word that I don't know the meaning of, or that it's familiar to me, but I don't know it very well, okay? And so that way I can investigate that word a little more, or learn a little more about it. So you would put that unknown word here in the middle, and then you would just do the 4 corners, and it tells you what to do for each one. For example, here, you need to illustrate it, so you would draw a picture of the word, or draw a picture that connects to the word that you chose to put in the middle. On the other one, you would define the word, write the definition. And for this, boys and girls, if it's one of these words in the list of vocabulary words, you could use the definitions here. If your word is not here in the list, then you are more than welcome to use your computer and look up the meaning for it. Just make sure that you go to safe websites. You might want to ask your parents, to help you out with going to a safe website to search up the meaning of the word that you chose. And so you would write it in this corner and then write a synonym, a word that means almost the same, and then use the word in a sentence, okay, in this corner. And so you would do that for for 4 words, okay? And that would be your day 1. Day 2 here, you need to summarize your text. And summarizing, basically, it's asking you what is the main idea of the text. And we always do this in class, except the only questions that we used to ask in class were who is this about, and what is this about. Here, you're doing the same thing. You're asking or answering the question, who is the reading about? And then you would just write it in here, who, and then what. The only different thing about this is that they added more questions. When? So when did this happen? I know that there was the president and his wife, President Obama and his wife. What about them? Oh, well, they were talking at a conference, right? About bullying. When? So if you don't remember, then you would go back to the reading and then find that out and put it in here, answering that one question. It could just be one sentence, okay? And then there's more questions. Where did this happen? You find out, you put it in here. Why? Well, you find out and put it in here. Again, only one sentence answers, because these are questions that are helping you, or they are meant to help you find out the main idea of the text. And then how? Not all of the questions apply always to all the readings, but answer as many as you can for each reading, okay? And so that's day 2, or part of day 2. Then here, planning for your writing. Here's your writing prompt. You need to summarize the main idea of the text, and then you need to include evidence from the text, okay? And then there's directions. Use the flea map to organize your thoughts. Use the example shown to set up the thinking map during your planning process. Okay, so we've done this before. This is basically a tree map, but made into a flow map to sequence your details. So to begin with, you will write the main idea. And at this point, you should be able to say the main idea if you answered all of these questions here. So answer all of these questions first, and then try to put all of that together into one statement. For example, I could say the main idea, I'm going to begin that for you here. So you could say the main, I'm sorry about my handwriting. I have the screen tilted. The main idea of this article is about who. You put your who in there. Who is this about? Okay, so you put it in there. The main idea of this article is about blank, and then what about them, and all of the rest of the answers that you put for the previous pages, you would put all of that into one statement here. When, how, and why. Okay, so the main idea of this article is about President Barack Obama and his wife, who spoke at a conference about bullying. When and then where? Well, in at the White House or whatever it was, and then you put the when in here. Okay, so that would be your main idea, and then this part everybody should know. Then you go back to the text and reread or skim through it again to find details. So detail 1, 2, and 3, and because it's just one paragraph, you could just put your detail here, and then a little explanation with your own words. So detail explanation and detail explanation. And then you write your conclusions. I'm going to write here. You write your detail from the text and then your own explanation. Okay, with your own words. And you follow the same pattern for the other two details and then your conclusion. Okay, so that would be your tree map or flea map. Again, this is just one paragraph. This is still day 2. And then here's your directions. It says, summarize the main idea of the text and then include evidence from the text to support the main idea. Remember, a good constructed response. And when it says constructed response, whenever you read that, this is talking about a paragraph. Okay? So you don't have to write an essay, a long essay. It's just one chunk, one paragraph. That's a constructed response. So remember that your paragraph, to summarize the text, needs to have the main idea, which you have in here, right in here. Okay. 2 to 3 reasons, or in this case, supporting details, which you have in the thinking map. See, 1, 2, 3. Explains, analyzes the evidence. What does this evidence mean? So this part right here, that would be, remember how I said for each detail, put that detail, but also the explanation with your own words. That would be doing this, explaining, okay, the evidence with your own words. And then you include a conclusion. And then the last two, using precise language. That means that you may not use words such as stuff or things or good or bad. We talked about that in class. Those are second grade or first grade words. We want to use fourth grade level vocabulary in our writing. And so that's what it means in there. And then, of course, correct punctuation. And then you begin. Remember, boys and girls, that we use the thinking map to take notes, and then when it's time to write, you're going to put all of what you put in this thinking map into complete sentences in here when you actually write your summary. Okay? And then we go on to day 3, and this is the activity that you would do in Achieve 3000, where you have questions. Here they are, and then you have choices, and so you choose the correct choice based on what you read in the text. But then remember that you must go back to the text and prove your answer. See where it says the thing that you believe is the correct answer. Okay, so yeah, like for example, if I said the correct choice for this one is A, then you can choose it, but then remember to go back to the text and underline where that answer is. I'm sorry, it's too long up there. You would go back to the text and underline where that answer would be, because that way you're proving, that's your evidence that your answer for this question 1 is correct, okay? And then you would do the same thing for each question. Read the question, read your choices, answer it if you remember, go back to the text, underline where that answer is, and that way you know that you're 100% correct. Okay, so that day 3 is basically just that, answering those multiple choice questions by going back and forth between the text and the questions. Okay, and then day 4, this you begin your planning for writing. And I know that before we left that one Monday, we did an example and we wrote an essay, a really long essay, and it was an opinion essay. I've been talking to several of you boys and girls. It's not always going to be an essay. It could be just one paragraph. Okay, that's okay, a constructive response. So if you want to go for it and make it into an essay, challenge yourself and do it, but you are not required. This could be one paragraph, okay? And so The directions here say, read the prompt below and underline the important points. And we underlined, boys and girls, keywords in the prompt because that helps us understand what is it that we're writing about, okay? So read the prompt, underline keywords or points that you need to consider when writing your short constructed response. Okay, so here's the prompt. The prompt says, explain the problems caused by bullying and cyberbullying. Okay, so what am I going to write about? I am going to write to explain. So this is my task. I need to explain the problems caused by bullying and cyberbullying. Okay. What would you do to stop these problems? Okay, so I need to explain the problems of bullying and cyberbullying. And then I also need to talk in my writing about what I would do to stop bullying and cyberbullying. And then it says, use details from the article to support your answer. And we do that all the time. Okay? And then here's the directions. You need to create the multi-flow map. That means this thinking map to organize your thoughts. So this is kind of like that tree map that we did most often in class. It's just that this is a multi-flow map, okay? Use the example map shown to set up your thinking during this planning process. After you complete the multi-flow map, write your short constructed response in the next page, and that would be on day 5, okay? So day 4, we are just planning the writing. Okay, so here I see claim, and then I see detail 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so my claim is basically going to be a response to the prompt, okay? The prompt said, explain the problems caused by cyberbullying and bullying. I don't want to give them away, so one thing that I could do in the claim, I could just write a topic sentence stating that bullying and cyberbullying cause multiple problems. Okay, and so I'm going to write it in here. Bullying and cyberbullying cause multiple problems. And that could be my claim. That's basically my topic sentence, okay? And it addresses the prompt because it says to explain the problems caused by bullying and cyberbullying. And then actually there's another part to this. It says, what will you do to stop these problems? So I could make this period into a comma and say, bullying and cyberbullying cause multiple problems, but I could say, but together we can work to solve these problems. Okay, and that way I fully address the prompt, which were explaining the problems, but also talking about what we would do to solve them. Okay, and so since in my topic sentence I said that bullying and cyberbullying cause multiple problems, those multiple problems could be my detail 1 and my detail 2. So here is, could be problem 1. So one problem. And then, of course, you could get that from the reading. This is all based on the reading that we did at the beginning. So since it's just one paragraph, you could make one sentence here to write about one problem. So one problem that bullying causes is, and then you put it in here. And then you could For the other sentence, you could write some evidence, okay, for that one problem. And then you would do the same thing here. Remember, we are talking about multiple problems that bullying and cyberbullying cause. So since the first one I made it problem 1, this one could be problem 2. And then I do the same thing. I mention the problem 2, and then I can put some evidence or explanation with my own words. Okay, so I'm going to put or explanation. Okay, so here so far we have one sentence, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences so far. Okay, but then my main idea also says that, but we can do something. We can work together to solve these problems. So your detail 3 could be how to solve the problem. So you could say one way to solve the problem here. Now you're not going to copy this. You're just going to, I'm just putting this for you boys and girls to remember, okay? So you would actually write the one way that we could, or one thing that we could do to solve the problem. And then again, you could put here your evidence or explanation. And that's it. Okay, again, this is all based on the reading. And then one thing that they didn't put in here, but that we know we must have, is a conclusion for that paragraph. And the conclusion, remember, and it's to basically restate your main idea. Okay, just in a little different words. Okay, and so that would be day 4 here. That's preparing your notes for day 5. Day 5, you simply, all the directions are in here, but basically for day 5, you are just taking all of these notes that you took in the thinking map here, and you're putting them into complete sentences here into one paragraph. You write your paragraph. Okay? Again, you need to reread the prompt that you were given in day 4 so that you can fully address it when you write your paragraph. And then you would put all of these notes into complete sentences with correct punctuation in academic language in here as a paragraph. Okay? All right. So, and then lastly, you have your reading log. You know that you must be reading at least 30 minutes, boys and girls. Thank you. Those of you, I know that many of you, most of you, boys and girls are doing it. So you would put your date, title, your 30 minutes read, and then your parents' initial right here. It has more than 5 rows. That's okay. You know that you're doing 5 days. So you only need 5 rows, okay? So, and then I noticed that for this week, they went ahead and added some tasks for each day that you read. Notice how it says reading response activity page. So this goes with your reading log, okay? So like, for example, for day 1, you do, this is very self-explanatory. You're just going to put your name, the book title, the pages that you read, and then the name of the author. And you're going to do that for all days, okay? And then here, this is your task for day 1. You need to write here the main character, okay? So say that you read a book about Diary of the Wimpy Kid. You put the name of the main character, okay, of that one book that you read in here, or at least the pages that you read. So you write the main character, and then this is the task. Create a bubble map with the name of the main character in the middle and 5 adjectives describing. Remember, adjectives are describing words. So the name in the middle, name of the character, and then the adjectives on the bubbles around, okay? To describe the character's traits. So, for example, you could talk about you put the name of the character and then I don't know, I'm just gonna make it up, kind. Like if you read about somebody who was really kind, you would put in there kind, respectful, respectful, funny. Okay, anything that you read that describes character traits of your main character. Okay, and that's it for day one. That would be your task. This is based on what you read, okay, your book that you read. Day two, it gives you a frame. I read silently for blank minutes, so for 30 minutes. When I was reading, I thought about the following things. So here you're just gonna say 2 or 3 things that you thought about while you were reading, okay? This is just things, ideas that came to your mind as you were reading during those 30 minutes. And then here's a picture of something I read about. You draw your picture. You're going to draw here. That's it for day 2. All right, day 3. Again, you do the same thing. You put this information on the top that you're going to be doing for each day. And then here's your task for day 3. It says, how did what you read connect to what you already knew or read before? So as you are reading, it's always good to be thinking or making connections of something that you have already read or something that you already knew. Could be something that you have experienced already, okay? And so as you think about those things, you're going to write that in here. So you could say, as I was reading these pages, it reminded me of, and then you write it all in here. Okay, it's just connections with something you knew, something you have experienced, or something else that you have read that is similar to what you read for day 3, the pages that you read for day 3. Okay, and so I'm not counting sentences. Just don't give me just one, just to say that you put something in there. Put your thoughts down in there. It's kind of like the free write that we would do with Mrs. Diaz. Okay, before we left. So that's day 3. Day 4, you're making inferences. And remember that an inference is a good guess or an educated guess. And it's not a random guess. It says in here that an inference is made by using facts from the text or what the author tells you, and also your prior knowledge or the things that you already knew, okay? So you put those things together, what you read and what you already know about the thing that you're reading, and then you make an inference or an educated guess, okay? And so here's your task. Make an inference about the story you are reading, okay? So you could pick, I don't know, the actions of the character. You can, where you stopped reading on day 4, you can make an inference as to why the character did an action, okay? And so you could pick any aspect and then make your inference in here, and you're writing here, I infer that, okay? So I infer that, and then you put it in here, your inference in a sentence. And then here it says reason what the author says in the text, reason what you already knew. So you could say here, I infer this because the text says. And then here also, I infer this because it reminded me of, or I already knew this, or this is combining facts from the text and what you knew about the subject, and how you combine those things to make your inference, okay? These are just details that you are using that helped you come up with your inference, okay? And that's day 4. Really quick, we're almost done. Day 5, again, you put that information in here. We already talked about that. And then this is your task for day 5. Write the events of the story in the order they appeared. You may use pictures, but must have most of the boxes filled with words. So when it says to write events in the order that they appeared, you're going to write what happened in the reading, the pages that you read, in order. Okay, so for example, what happened first? What happened later on? What happened next? And then what happened at the end? Okay, so you're just going to write some sentences to write these things. Okay, or the events that happened in this order. What happened first, later on, what happened next, and then what happened at the end. And that's it. That's it for day 5. And of course, you have your PE log. Make sure that you keep being active. It gives you the activities that you can choose from to do. Okay, you can choose any of those for each day. And that way, we make sure that you're healthy and active. I know that this is a really long video. Thank you for doing your best. And I will be posting more for next week. Probably break it down in 2 days. That way we don't make it as long.